Hi, everyone, and welcome to the Noonchi podcast. I am so excited. I have this really cool content creator here, Deema Loves Drama. I'm sure you know her. Instagram, TikTok, YouTube. Cannot wait to talk about her. But I first discovered actually pretty recently, I would say earlier last month. And I was like, wait, who is this funny girl talking about K-dramas in such a funny way and really creative, and also, I want to say, really relatable. So that is why I'm super excited to interview you. Thank you so much for joining me, Deema.
I love being here. Thank you so much for letting me be on the podcast.
Of course. Thanks for agreeing. So, by the way, folks, she is in Dubai. So we have a big time zone difference here, US and Dubai, but it's all good. Deema, of course. Let's talk about your content creation. Deema Loves Drama. Let's start with your story. How did you first start this? And maybe go back to when your love of K-dramas first started as well. Does it come around the same time, or did you love K-dramas first and then start your whole content?
Yeah, definitely. So I started watching K-dramas around 12, 13. I had started with Japanese dramas actually. And when I felt like I finished all the Japanese dramas that were online, because Japanese is subtitled very slowly compared to Korean, I wanted to just check out like a Korean remake of a Japanese drama. So I started watching them then, and I was obsessed. I loved them. They became like my regular, like weekly watching. But then I never had friends in real life that like the same thing. So in December of 2019, I was going into my last semester of university, and I felt quite lost. And I was like, okay, you know what? This is time for me to start the social media. I had tried to begin a YouTube channel in 2016, but I was really shy and I really didn't like, I'm not shy, but I was shy like on camera. And I just did not feel like, okay. So I was like, okay, that's it. In December 2019, I'll start it. And then going on from there, it was a very difficult social media because it is such a niche. Like it's just, there's absolutely no one, like at the beginning, there was absolutely no one online that shared the same things that I liked. And then around June 2020, that's when it started picking up more with It's Okay to Not Be Okay on Netflix, started growing more on YouTube, and I've just been working ever since.
That's amazing. And I love that because a lot of people, we see a lot of content creators these days. It does take some hard work is what I'm hearing, or some persistence or
Yes.
patience. I see your face.
Literally.
So, tell me more, because I mean, obviously you're talking about dramas, right? K-dramas
Yeah.
that are, I think, our favorite topic. But when I saw your face going, yeah, tell me a little bit more of that, that took your patience.
I regularly, ever since December 2019 till now, I spend probably approximately 3 to 4 hours every day working on it. Like it's not a joke. And especially when I created Patreon, I started spending, some days I would spend 9 to 10 hours like a day on it because I'm like filming and things like that. I have created so far since June 2020, because that's when I started TikTok. From June 2020 till now, I've created over 1,000 TikTok videos. Like it's not a joke. It is so much hard work. Like I feel like a lot of people like Hype House and things like that give influencers or give like content creators a really bad rep. Like I die making this. Like even now, before we were talking, I was literally just making the upcoming K-dramas and K-movies in February, March, and like researching each one, and then I have to like design the graphic, and then I have to make the reel, and then I have to make the TikTok. And I do it for fun. Like I do it because I actually like doing it, which is why I've continued on doing it for such a long time. But it is a lot of work that maybe not noticeable because my content seems like really fun and like just it looks like casual, but behind that there's like me like crying over how the lighting didn't work here, or like I forgot a date here or something like that.
I'm feeling your pain because, and I'm not anywhere near you, but what my whole point is when I do YouTube videos to talk about mental health and K-dramas,
Yeah.
you know how many times I'm like, take one. And then I'll notice I'll be like, what's sticking up what's out of my nose? I mean, you know what I mean? You start becoming I'm listening to my content, but I'm also like, what's wrong with my face? So, I right?
Yeah.
But you're right. I'm glad you shared that. No, I know content. First of all, creating any content takes work.
Yeah,
But
definitely.
but what keeps you going, I'm assuming, is obviously the passion that you have for K-dramas and you love it.
Mhm.
And also,
Yeah.
isn't it nice to see, let's admit this, when you see your growth, and that's what I'm going to talk about with you. How did you
Mhm.
see your growth, right? Because you're like, Jeannie, it's a lot of work, but you started in
Yeah.
December 2019. Now it's technically, we're recording this so folks know, almost
Mhm.
March 2022.
Yeah.
How's your growth been? Let's talk about that in social media.
Okay, so growth wise, okay, so I have this like master Excel sheet with like these dates and like I have like milestones like in a last column and like every I am analytics obsessive, like literally. It's not a good thing. Like
Oh, okay. It's so Asian. I was gonna say that's why I clapped
yeah.
my hands because I'm not like that. But go ahead.
No, I am okay. So when right, okay. So for the first 7 months of me creating YouTube, I had 200 subscribers. Then in June 2020, it kind of rose to 1,000, and then 2 months later, it was 3,000, and it kept going like that. Now, for the past like 6 months, I have not posted as much honestly on YouTube because there's a lot of copyright issues, like especially with reactions. So that's kind of like stopped me for a while. But as for TikTok, TikTok has like lesser copyright restrictions, so I can create more content there that I want to. Currently on TikTok, I have 100,000 followers, which is amazing, and I'm very happy with it. But the algorithm does like work against you at times because like even though you have 100,000 followers on TikTok, that doesn't necessarily mean that every single one of your videos as well. That actually just means that like some of your videos are doing well, people like your content, they might recognize you, but it's just the virality of it. Instagram, however, I created the Instagram December 2019 as well. Up to January 6th, I had 2,700 followers. Then, as I started creating reels, like reels is what truly changed my life. Now I have 34,000, which is amazing, and I really never expected it, and I'm just really happy with it because I feel like okay, finally it's starting to work. Like it's been like almost 2 years. This is
Yeah,
great.
you
Like
worked hard. And I'm glad you're sharing
yeah,
that because people just, like you said, just think, oh, they just flipped on a switch, put on their phone and decided to do a reel. No, it's a lot of work,
yeah,
right? And you're
yeah,
representing your
definitely.
brand and who you are. Well,
Yeah.
I'm excited for you. That's amazing. So 2022
Thank you.
started out a great year. Well, now let's talk about K-dramas and your love of K-dramas since age
Definitely.
12 or 13. What was it? I know you start with J dramas, but what has kept you hooked? What is it about K dramas for you that you love?
I don't know. Honestly, like at this point, I don't know. I just okay. One of the things that I really like about K dramas is that they're actually pretty short. Like compared to like American TV shows, Turkish series, like a really big thing in like the Middle Eastern world, or I would say like at least in Dubai, is that Turkish series are really popular. They're like they're subtitled. They're not subtitles. Sorry, they're dubbed in Arabic on most like channels, but they are 200 to 300 episodes long. So that
Ooh,
was not going to happen. I do not have that attention span. And same thing with English TV shows. They're like seasons long, like
right.
things like that. One of the main reasons why I loved K dramas was because they were short and I can watch so many, and like it was just really fun. And then honestly, it was everything. It was the music, the storylines. I really, really loved fluffy romances, and I felt like K dramas were really the essence of that. It was just very hard to find something on an English TV show where people weren't sleeping together after like 3 episodes. Like I really,
Yeah.
guys, we need to take a breather. And I just
Mhm.
like, you know what I mean? So I really like the innocent fluffiness of K dramas. Now obviously there's like much more like raunchy K dramas. That's great. Like honestly, as I grow older, you'd want that more anyway. But like it just I really I just really like I really like everything about them, honestly.
I love how you said raunchy. So, okay, so let's name some of the newer raunchy K dramas.
Nevertheless, was definitely like more
Right.
raunchy.
Yeah.
Did you watch it?
Yeah. Okay. So I'll admit, I stopped at I never finished past episode 8. I know it was
I do
good.
not blame you.
I just got
No.
annoyed with Han Soi's character, which is so funny because I love her and other stuff, but I'm like,
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
but obviously it was a hit and I know why and all this stuff. But yeah, it was definitely, I was like, ooh, what's going on here?
I did not like it. I didn't like
I
the
was like,
drama.
what?
No, I just for me like I don't know, just the whole storyline. I was doing it on Patreon, and I swear to God, after like a couple of episodes, I was like, guys, can I stop? Like, and then I really did not
It
want
was
to
like too
continue.
much, right? But
It got boring.
yes. Okay, so that's a raunchy one. Any other ones that you could think of? Mm,
Nevertheless, was I actually make these lists all the time. It wasn't like it was not like necessarily like the whole drama is raunchy, but like raunchier moments. I would say It's Okay to Not Be Okay has one. So This
yeah,
Tale of the Nine-Tailed.
I didn't see that
And
one.
now, yeah, now Forecasting Love and Weather. Crazy.
Yes,
Like,
I was waiting for you to mention that. I was like, what just happened?
yeah.
Obviously,
Seriously.
they're yeah, still again different than American shows in the sense of it's everything is very like subtle still, but that
Yeah.
particular scene, I was like, oh yeah, they're not wearing a shirt. Do you know what I'm saying? I love I'm talking to a young 23-year-old, by the way, go folks, Deema's only 23. So the fact that you're also like, what? That's funny. So did that take you by surprise?
I honestly no, because Songkang dramas nowadays are like synonymous with like something's gonna happen in the second episode. The
Why does
same
he
thing
do
with Love
that?
Alarm.
He's starting his own reputation. Just saying.
But it's funny because like honestly, Songkang dramas are like mostly good. Like I like them. And it's just like really funny because like the memes are hilarious. I reposted one yesterday, and it was like, normal K dramas taking 8 episodes to like so for them to hold hands, and then Songkang by the second episode is already like doing something else.
Yeah.
So I
But
don't
he
know.
does it
Yeah,
so
like
sweetly in this one. I mean, he's sweet. I like his character. But my
mhm.
favorite one of his is actually Navalera.
I didn't watch Navalera. Like I really did want to watch it though. It was on my list, and then I was
Yeah.
just not in the mood for a sad K drama. Like I felt it like it was more depressing. It was like not for
It's
me.
slightly a little bit has that tone, but also beautiful.
Mhm.
But yes, but you
Yeah,
like the fluffy romances. So let's get to that
yeah.
because I'll admit, me too. But what is it
Mhm.
about it that you like? Is it just because you're a 23-year-old girl that likes it? But what is it? What draws you to them?
Um, I I don't know. I honestly, because I'm a very big like romance reader, I really love romance books, and I'm a big reader in general. And I just feel like some of the moments that we have in like K dramas aren't really represented anywhere else besides books.
Right.
Like the little touches, the like music playing, like all of these things. I feel like are represented more in novels than they are in TV and movies. I can barely find stuff like that. Like for example, in 2521, which I'm completely enjoying right now. It's fantastic.
Love it.
Yeah, like in episode 2, there was like this scene at the end where they're kind of like running after each other. He like opened like a water faucet, and then like water starts going everywhere. Yeah, and it's gorgeous. And the OST was in the background, and I just felt like, okay, this is such a great moment. I
Mhm.
love this. And like it'd been a while since I watched a scene where I was like, oh, I love this. This is beautiful,
Yeah,
and I
and
just
it even
yeah,
looked pretty, right? With all the water coming
yeah,
out and just you're right. And Koreans do it so well with like their
yeah.
aesthetics, you know?
Mhm, mhm.
I love that. Yeah. And of course, who doesn't like Namjoon? I was not, did you watch Startup?
Yeah. Oh, don't
Okay,
mention
me too.
startup yet.
Yeah.
I was
So he annoyed me in Startup and I couldn't get over that
yeah,
a little bit because I love Tanji Pyong, but also he annoyed me. And then I'm like, okay, he's redeeming himself now.
yeah.
Oh,
That's everybody's thought process.
I
Like
know. And
half
then,
of the comments in my
but
videos.
yes, I am a team HJP, but that's another story. So, anyways, okay. So then now let's talk about because you know me, I look at K dramas from a mental health perspective, and not like I'm
Yes.
asking you to think mentally, what does this mean for you? But when you're watching K dramas and just the experience, and you even saying, look how beautiful this scene is with the waterfall. Tell me a little bit about that experience. I guess, I mean, emotionally speaking, what have K dramas done for you or helped you with, or even made you realize certain things in life?
Honestly, it made me realize that like I've always been a person I really, really, really appreciate other cultures. Like it's one of those things that I went to an international school. I'm from 50 different like I'm Palestinian, and like now I'm Palestinian Canadian. Like I've been exposed to a lot of like nationalities, cultures, religions, all of these things, and I just felt like with K dramas I had been watching them as if they were like any other normal TV show to me. Like it wasn't really like a subsection where I was like, okay, yes, I'm watching a Korean drama, more like I'm just watching a TV show. But then when I was starting to do social media about it, I felt like a lot of people thought it was a subsection, like it was just a, like people kind of like just set it apart as in like, oh, if you're willing to sit down and read subtitles, then okay, yeah, you can watch a Korean drama. So I just felt like with K dramas and making social media about them, I kind of put myself in a place where I was like, no, it's okay, like we can appreciate other cultures and other like TV shows or like things on basically on your screen, and not make it such a, oh my god, this is, oh, I have to watch something with subtitles, this is so annoying to me, when it should just be like, okay, yes, I'm watching another thing, like it's normal, like it should be more normalized. And yeah, I don't know how I explain this, but along those lines.
No, I love that. So you're on the lines of just culture and
Yeah,
and not making be like it's a K drama, something so specific. You're like making it's part of like your everyday. You don't really think twice
yeah,
that you're watching a Korean drama.
yeah,
So let's get on that in the sense of what, okay, well, what have you learned about Korean culture or appreciated, or because we're learning stuff. I'm still learning as a Korean American,
yeah,
right? What are some of the
yeah.
things that you really like about the culture that you see in the dramas that we watch?
Honestly, like the culture is it's so cute. Like I love all the I really love the traditional dresses. They're really pretty. Like especially when I watch like historical dramas, whenever I see anything like set in the past, I love history. So I really like, like the um old palaces, like their structures, even down to like sometimes like the hairpins. Like I really like just seeing like the different like designs and things like that. Also with like the culture in terms of language, like I felt like it was very interesting how there was informal and formal tone. Like that was very interesting to me, because in Arabic it's kind of the same. You have like two things, like formal tone is called fusha, like in Arabic, and it's basically like very rigid, like this is what you would read in like books and poems and things like that. And then there's informal Arabic, where it's just like normalized. Like I would say, like if I were going to explain a word, if I were going to say hello in Arabic in Fusha, I would say marhaba. But if I were saying it in informal, I'd be like ahlan, like so it's got two completely different things. And I felt like it was the same in like the Korean language, how there's just like two tones and it sets everything. Like if you're more friends or if you're the same age, you would speak an informal tone, but if somebody was older, like there's just a lot of things with age and language that I thought was very interesting. Also with like, I don't personally drink, but also with like drinking culture and things like that, like how there's like a certain etiquette. There's even like anju, like which is a specific food. Like all of these things I thought was just super interesting.
Yeah, that's interesting. Yeah, you don't drink. Like it's but then there, I don't drink, but we see that in the
But
K dramas a lot.
yeah,
That's pretty much in every scene in every K drama. It's just part of the culture, right? So
yeah,
I was just laughing because some of the scenes are funny. I don't know if you saw 39 recently. Like,
yeah, yeah,
yeah,
yeah.
I was just cracking up. Every actress and actor of a K drama needs to learn how to play drunk. Just saying, right?
Yeah,
Because that's just part of
definitely.
that culture. Well, that said, has there been a K drama that's really, not to get so deep, not changed your life, but you still recall it and you're like, yeah, this made us such an impact, or
Mhm,
it's my go-to, do you have
mhm.
some of those?
Definitely 18 again. I really love 18 again. It's so pretty. I love it. It's so nice. I usually recommend it as my favorite K drama. Like if when
Really?
people ask me, yeah, did you watch it?
No, I didn't. I've heard good things
It's
about it,
so great.
but yes, I
It's
didn't.
great.
Wow.
Yeah,
And who's
because there's
who's an 18
mm,
again?
Lee Do Hyun.
Okay,
And
okay.
I always forget the main actress's name.
Jonghyun,
Um, 18 again has yeah, it has Lee Do Hyun, Hwang In Yup, and Kim Hanul. So
okay, okay.
yeah,
Okay.
so thingy, I
Well,
just
what did
love
you like
18
about
again.
18 again? Why is it like your favorite?
Because there's a lot of lessons in there. It basically talks about how this couple who's about to divorce, they had children when they were still in high school, and so there was still like this really big gap between how their future was going to be versus when their children were going to come out. So the dad goes back to his 18-year-old self. It's kind of like the same storyline from 17 again with Zac Efron,
Yeah.
the movie.
Oh,
Yeah,
okay.
so
And I
yeah,
didn't see that one either. But wait,
yeah, it's
this
fun.
sounds like a movie I would really like. When did this come out? I mean, I know it's fairly recent. Like
In 2020.
yeah. You know what?
Yeah,
There's so much to see in 2020. That's probably why.
yeah.
I just couldn't keep up. But no, this sounds interesting. So then they go back to their young 18 self and then kind of re-look at life, is what it sounds like.
So the dad actually just goes back to his 18-year-old self, and then he starts going to high school with his kids. So it just, literally, because his kids are now in high school. So
Yeah.
it's a very interesting drama in the sense that I felt like there were so many life lessons. It's just, the OST was beautiful. I felt like it really covered like life lessons in terms of when starting from high school all the way to like because the parents were in their 40s at that point. So I just felt like it really like came across as such a well-written drama, and I really appreciate that. I really like things that are like well written. Like Vincenzo was so well written in my opinion. Like it was great. So yeah.
I did like that. That's so funny. You went from 18 again to Vincenzo, which are like two
Yeah.
different kind of genres.
Yeah.
So now you sold me on 18 again. So I definitely want to watch that because that's something I would like too. Life lessons. So that's what I'm getting out of the K-dramas you watch. Well, Vincenzo, let's talk about that's completely different genre. So do you have, you like the fluffy romances, but then what did you like about Vincenzo besides Song
I
Joong-ki?
love
No, I'm kidding.
definitely Song Joong-ki was number one, but no, actually I just really loved Vincenzo. It was so well written, the action was great, there was so many like squad goals. I loved him and Chaeyoung, like both of them were so cute together. They were like boss vibes. They had like suits on 24/7. Just because I like fluffy romances, that like I love other genres too, and Vincenzo was just one of those dramas that I felt like was written like, I remember I don't maybe it was like episode 6 or 8, one of those, like something happens and something blows up. And I just felt that drama that episode, sorry, from beginning to end was probably one of the best written things I've ever watched. So yeah.
No, I mean,
Vincenzo was
I'm prone to agree with you because I was a little bit, it was unpredictable to me a little bit going on what just happened.
great.
He just killed somebody or whatever. But then it's like you're cracking up 2 episodes later of something he does when
Yeah.
he's wearing the hanbok and being a shaman. Do you remember?
Literally.
And I'd be like,
Yeah.
what is this? But no, and then there's some people who are haters of Vincenzo, but I'd be like, it was on my favorite list. It was on one of my top 2021 favorites. Just saying.
Definitely, me too. Whenever anybody like comments that, I always tell them, I'm like, get past episode 4 and then talk to me. Like nobody talk to me if you're still in the first 2 episodes. That's not like, move on, like push on.
Good for you. Yeah. So me too.
Yeah.
So that said, okay. So you talk about 18 again. How about any drama that you felt like it related to you as in your family upbringing? Because one of the things I like to talk about with K-dramas and mental health is our identity, right? Watching it and being like, yeah, this reminds me of how I deal with my parents, or you know what? Oh, watching this scene is helping me deal with something. So this isn't so much like a favorite, but any one of those K-dramas that speak out to you that you have like applied in your life or related to it personally because of something you were going through.
I would say there were 2 dramas like more recently where I just felt like it didn't really I don't really relate to them in terms of my upbringing, but I would say I really relate to them in terms of my emotions at the time. So like I watched Move to Heaven when my grandfather passed away, and I just felt like it was so good because I just cried every episode. Like it was great. It was, how long was it? It was like 10 episodes or 9 episodes. Yeah.
Episodes. Yeah, I cried every episode. Yeah.
Same, like it was just one of those dramas that I felt like really resonated in terms of like its storyline. Like every episode was kind of like a different story and things like that, and I just felt like it really hit. And then My Mister, I really love My Mister. It's so great. Yeah.
That's one of my top 2 favorites aside from Reply 1988.
Yeah. What's your number one? Oh, Reply 1988.
Well, My Mister is probably number 1. It shifts depending on, and I will watch My Mister and Reply 1998 when I'm having tough days. I'll be like,
exactly.
Just watch My Mister. And people are like, really? My Mister? I'm like, no. My Mister is full of, well, I won't talk about it. I want you to talk about it. What was My Mister doing for you? Because people are like, it seems so, dismal. And I'm like, no, it's so full of I say hope.
Everything.
Mhm.
Yeah. My mister was great, honestly. Like I just love watching it. It's not one of those dramas that people look at immediately and think, okay, this is going to be such a fantastic drama. They look at the poster and they're like, oh, this looks really depressing. But I actually felt like it was really uplifting. Like every episode that went by, I felt like every single one of IU's words, I was like, yes, okay, bring more. I'm literally like, I'm memorizing it all. This is great. And it's actually one of the dramas I watch when I'm like feeling sad too. I feel like it
You?
truly, yeah, it uplifts you like in a
Yes.
really like in a not twisted but like in a reverse like reverse way, like instead of it being
Yeah.
like something that's depressing, it actually like uplifts me more.
Mhm.
So I don't know how to describe it. It's just one of those things that I watch it and I'm like, okay, this is very comfortable because I've already went through the pain of watching it the first time. Now I
Yes.
know what's happening and I can like take in the words more.
Yeah, no, and I watch it
Yeah.
too. And people, I'm like, you have to get over like you have to watch the first half knowing it's a little bit on that,
Mhm.
on that low mood side, but then obviously there's a shift. And the whole point is like transformation. I mean, that's what I say. But
Mhm. Mhm.
thanks for sharing that. So let's go back to content creating before we wrap up. What's one of your
Mhm.
favorite type of reels to do, or like favorite type of content to create and produce and get out there when it comes to your work?
I think honestly, I like little mini jokes or like mini like relatable lines. I think it's really funny when I see people. I swear, like sometimes I put videos and I'm like, "Ugh, nobody's gonna understand what I'm saying. Like, like nobody's gonna like relate to this liner, for example." And then like you get a lot of comments and a lot of people being like, "Oh my God, yes, this is so relatable," or this is this, or this is that. And I just find it really heartwarming when I see my comments. Like I would say like the people that follow me are the cutest people on the planet. Like I really could not have asked for a nicer community. And I just whenever and I read like the comments like constantly. So
Mhm.
whenever I read one where they relate to the same thing that I do, I'm like, okay, cute. We're all in this together. This is really nice.
Oh, that's nice. So that said, tell me about that. I mean, I feel like that's the best way to kind of bookend your interview here. You just talked about a community coming out
Yeah.
of all of this.
Mhm.
What's that been like for you? Because that is what I believe is another part of the K-drama experience, sharing it with
Mhm.
other people.
Mhm.
Tell me how that's been for you as a social media content creator.
It's I There's nothing better than that. Like creating a community is really cool because like it's not as if it was one of those things where I created it and I immediately got like thousands of followers and I was like, okay, yeah, I'm big. No, it was one thing where I was building it over such a long time that I like in the beginning, like I always like DM'd like the people that like I like that were following me and like I even created like some really cute friendships, like people who also like the same things that I did. And I also read my DMs till now, but like it's just it's just one of those things where like I truly felt like I bonded with the community because of like the slow growth. It was like I got to know like the people that follow me as if they were my best friends or as if they were my friends, and I felt like that was such a privilege, like to be able to create a community where I go on it and I do not feel uncomfortable. Like it's
Mm.
I feel like a lot of the times like my previous manager was like a K-pop stan, and she always posts like things like, why do people call sports fans like fans, but when people are fangirls they're kind of like eccentric, or like things like that. I just felt like it was so true. Like people like think like, okay, yeah, you watch K-dramas, oh my God, you must be a nerd, or like you like reading, you must be a nerd, like all of these different things. And I felt like with my community I wasn't a name or like a title. Like it was just like me and my like really safe positive community. We all like the same things, and even when I introduce other things they're so supportive, they're still really nice. And that's what I wanted to create, because I was just so sick of like hearing like, oh, you watch K-dramas, and I'm like, but why don't you like, have you tried?
That's what you can go back to them. You're talking to a licensed mental health clinician going, yeah, why don't you? It's good for your health. Do you know what I'm saying? Yeah, because I didn't
Literally.
realize you were, yeah. And I've gotten the look before. They're like, uh-huh, yeah, K-dramas,
Mhm,
uh-huh. I just moved
mhm.
past it. I'm like, yeah, that's what I
Yeah,
do. It helps me
and
with
yeah,
my mental health. So I make that, and then they're like, oh, interesting. Right. So you go back and you just say that to them going, yeah, then your health must not be very good. No, I'm kidding. You don't want to be mean, but I love that so that's great. Your community basically gives you that confidence for what
mhm,
you're doing, and showing the support. And I think that's great, because there can be a lot of social media haters out there these days. And the fact that
definitely. And
you
I
don't
have
have
some
that,
too.
I'm sorry.
I have some. I have
Yeah,
some
everybody
like
does.
every other.
And by the
Yeah,
way, why are they hating? What do they say? What's some of the
oh
stuff?
my God. What was it the other day? I got somebody that commented on one of my YouTube videos and they were like, fatty nerd. And I literally looked at it. I'm like, excuse me. Like, it was just like, no, number one, a nerd is not an insult. Like, do you know how much I built from me working? Like, I
Yeah.
just like having consistency and having intellectualism is not, it's not an insult. I never got that, but the fatty part did hurt. But then like you move past it and I stopped caring.
True. Yeah.
Yeah, because
Go back
at
to
the
your
end of the day,
community to build you up. Um,
yeah.
I was gonna say one thing about that. You could go back to to that comment. Wait, well, why are you watching? You're
Yeah,
watching
no.
to begin with. So obviously, no, I'm kidding. I'm trying to help with that. But you know, that whole point is, yes, the haters do come from, honestly, maybe a little bit of envy.
I don't care. Like,
Yeah, I'm
honestly,
glad.
like,
But
yeah.
that's awesome that yeah, exactly. So you get some haters
Mhm.
and you move on. Yeah.
Yeah.
But that's and you have your whole community, so that's good. But I love this. So one last question. It might be a very difficult one. It's not that hard, but
Okay.
why do you think I do what I do? I mean, tell me why you see Jeannie Chang, Noona's Noonchi connect K-dramas with mental health.
Because honestly, like nowadays, I feel like K-dramas are really like in building mental health as like one of the topics more. I feel like previously there really wasn't. There was like a lot of like I saw one of your videos beforehand about like toxic masculinity. Like I felt like in the past, like maybe the men that were represented in dramas were like extremely toxic. And none of us noticed because that's just like the norm, I guess at the time. And like
Yes.
female leads or like women in K dramas were really represented as people who just like followed along. Now they're more like they're strong and they're like bosses, CEOs. It's great. So I feel like mental health is really prevalent in K dramas and it's only growing. So I honestly think your niche will only grow as you're discussing these topics. And especially like now we have a lot of K dramas, like It's Okay to Not Be Okay, I think would be like the new standard where they actually were in the setting of a hospital. And like, you know what I mean? I feel like it's cool. I love it. Honestly, we should speak about mental health all the time. It's one of the most important things.
So you got a new fan here. I was always a fan, but now you got I'm a stan now, Deema. Because you said some exactly. Of course, we love watching K-dramas because they make us feel good and they're all the stuff that we love watching. But I also think they help us. I think this world, I'm going to be dramatic, is going to be healthier because of K-dramas. Anyways, that's my conclusion. Thank you so much. Deema, loved having you. Deema Loves Drama, folks, on Instagram, YouTube, TikTok. So I can't wait. You guys keep following her and then keep her growing because she works hard, as she shared. And I feel that pain too. So it's a lot of work doing content creation. Thank you so much for joining me, Deema.
Thank you so much.
I got to have you back soon.
Definitely. I'm your son now too. Thank you.
Bye.
Bye-bye.